I'm interested also sort of in other cheesemakers that were in the area when you started out, and a little bit of sort of history about it.
Well, Tom Heath was here
Right.
years ago, and Tom was he was one of the really good organizers and cheesemakers. And he was here for years, and he was here when the factory was rebuilt.
Yes, after the fire.
In '58,
Yeah.
they upgraded, and at that, shortly after that, also Harrismith. That's when they went to a larger size. They bought out Selby and Newburgh, and amalgamated the 3 plants. Of course, they got government grants along the way to achieve that.
Yes, I understand
Which is
that. Yeah.
and
So did the Hughes brothers, once it was sold, did they continue to?
No,
work
the one brother went into the trucking business, and Elwood, he stayed with it, and actually
It was Grant. Was it Grant?
Grant was the father.
Grant was the father,
And he owned the plant,
and he owned the plant
and the 2 boys worked in the business.
with him.
Yeah.
And so, was the father still alive when the plant was sold?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he survived quite a long time afterwards.
Right.
Actually.
He has since died though.
Yeah, and Elwood, yes, he has now.
Yeah.
Elwood, he went and worked with McCain's at Harrismith for quite a long time. Yeah.
In the
And he lives in
Cheesemaking.
Napa. You should talk to him.
Yeah, I will contact
Yeah.
him. And so he went to work there. Now, who else? There were the 3 of you that went to school. Were there really only? There was you and Tom Hughes, of course. Did you know Tom Hughes at that time?
Tom Heath.
Heath, excuse me, not Hughes.
Oh
Tom
yeah,
Heath,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. He was here, and the dairy industry
It must be quite
was
close.
a close knit
It must
community.
be. Yeah.
And you knew everybody, and
Yeah.
you knew what was going on, and
Yeah.
we had our yearly meetings and our. Actually, they had monthly get-togethers back then at different plants.
Was this the Cheesemakers
Association. Yeah.
Now, when did that end? The Cheesemakers Association, when the government brought in different associations. Where did it then move into the dairy?
It's the Central Ontario Cheese Association is still in effect.
It is the
Yeah.
Central.
Now there's only half a dozen factories left,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
So it's a lot smaller than it used to be,
Right.
and but they still have the British Empire Cheese Show in Belleville.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
So that continues
It's every November.
every November.
Yeah.
Now, are you part of that Central? You were Eastern, weren't you?
No, this is Central.
This is Central,
Yeah.
not Eastern.
Yeah.
What was Eastern?
From Brockville
on. So
Yeah.
that was that you were sort of part of the Central. So who is now surviving? There's some in Hastings County. There's Is it Mapledale?
Mapledale, Empire, and
Right.
Ivanhoe.
And Ivanhoe.
That's it.
Right.
There was probably 100 in that area.
Right.
And I think in Lennox and Addington at one time there was probably close to 40.
Yes.
And this is the only one left. And east of here, there was a lot of little factories around Winchester in that area, and there's only one left.
In that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you have contact with with these other sort of cheese factory plants through the Cheesemaker Association or the Dairy Association, or just an informal?
Mostly informal
Yeah.
there, and trade ideas back and forth, and there's a personal touch there. If I had a problem and I needed a culture or run out of some
Yes.
product or something, you call Mapledale, call Ivanhoe, and
Right.
they're there to help.
Yeah. Are there any other cheesemakers coming along? The courses are still offered. I know at Guelph they are. I don't know whether they are.
It's
Temple.
different now. It isn't
Okay.
actually. You go for a 3-day format, and in your training, of course it was back then. Your training was in the plant.
Yes.
But it's certainly a different format.
Yes. And are there cheesemakers coming along? Do you think? Are there
Yeah, in a different.
both men and women? Or is
Probably, yeah.
Is it still seen as
Basically, it's a male
yeah?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was because it was hard work.
I was going to say it was very hard work. I know that.
Today it would be different in that aspect.
Oh yes, because it would be, wouldn't
a woman
it?
could certainly handle the
right.
But not in a plant like this because we're still turning the
Yes,
curd
and
the
that's
cheddar.
very physical work. When was the last time? Did you ever produce a 90-pound cheese?
Oh,
Did you routinely do that? Until when?
Probably for 20 years.
For 20 years. So when was the last time that you?
Well, I went to 40 pound. Actually, we didn't switch to 40-pound blocks till the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were still making. We were the last plant probably anywhere to make 90-pound round cheese.
Right. Now, would you a little bit about the show in Belleville? It had quite a history, didn't it? Where did it get the British Empire? Was that from? I know I've seen results from the early 1900s and even late 1800s. Was it? Tell me a little bit about how it got centered in Belleville. Why not, London or something? And what was it?
Belleville was situated on. There's a railroad through there and shipping.
Right.
And years ago, probably 90% of the cheese products went to England.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where we get the British Empire Dairy Show. It wasn't just local. It was open to anybody in the world that wanted to enter it. But Canadian cheese was a delicacy.
Yeah, highly valued.
And now there's very little imported to England. It's mostly domestic.
Right.
And the few factories that are left is kind of evolved, and the cheese exchange was in Belleville for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you would go there and sit on the exchange and sell your cheese.
Now, would that be something that you would do?
Actually, I did go there, and it was only it was a formality at that time.
Yes.
Because it was getting towards the end of the they had the Dutch clock, which runs backwards, and you had all these desks, and you hit a button and stop the clock at a certain price. So I had to go and sit on the exchange as often. It was held weekly at one time.
Weekly.
Then it dropped down to bi-weekly.
Right.
And basically, we had to go and buy our own cheese back because because there was the law that all the cheese manufactured had to go through the cheese exchange.
No.
So we had to go there, and it was all on paper.
Of course.
The cheese never went there.
Right, because it stayed here.
It went into our own cold storage facilities.
Right.
But I had to go up there every Monday morning at 10 o'clock and sit at a desk and push a button.
In order to be able to buy your own cheese.
Yeah.
You never lost any money, I hope.
No.
It couldn't conspire. The situation couldn't conspire that you had to buy your cheese back at more than it cost you to produce.
It was a respected business community, and nobody else
would bid or
they wouldn't try and steal your cheese unless a rogue buyer come in from somewheres. And
was there such a thing?
There was, it didn't happen very often, but sometimes somebody would slip in and upset the apple cart, so to speak. Very interesting. But today, everybody's responsible for marketing their own product.
Yes. So now, does that fall as part of your duty, or is that just Jensen do that with their own? Because you say they buy the cheese, and then are they still doing that? They take some of your cheese now. Still?
Actually, we take all of the cheese that we make for aging.
Yes.
It all goes to their location in Simcoe.
Right. They have
aging. Cold storage facilities.
Right. Yes.
Right in their own operating area there. So we take a tractor trailer load of cheese about once a month.
Yeah.
Take it up there and then bring back the age categories that we need to market here.
Yes.
So the medium, old, extra old, so on.
Right.
And
what is the longest aged cheese?
We've had
how How long can you age a cheese?
I don't know.
Cheddar cheese, let's say.
There's a time frame there, and I question whether we've had cheese 8 years old.
Oh, really?
But
I've had 7.
4 to 5 years
Yeah.
is probably. After that, economically, it isn't feasible.
Yeah.
Because the storage charges,
Right.
the interest charges, and whatnot,
Yeah.
it gets up pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And I question whether you gain much. To
Beyond
me,
5
5
or
years is probably
Mm-hmm.
the optimum
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
And from there on, sure, it's older, and you can tell people, oh, this is 10 years old.
Yeah.
But from 5 to 10, I don't see a huge difference.
In that, yeah. As a taster of cheese, do you eat cheese every day?
Oh, I love cheese. Old
You-
cheese.
Yes, old cheese. Tell me about I always buy the white cheese. I don't buy the orange cheese. What do you use to, and why? Could you tell me the history of why and when did it start to be orange cheese? Because even back in the 1910, they talked about the different type of cheese that they sold, and it was white or orange. Tell me the history about why.
Traditionally, excuse me. Traditionally, most facilities age the white cheese. Now, Jensen's, they took a different road. They tended to age colored cheese, and the one downfall of that, if it isn't a really good product, the cheese tends to lose its color.
Mm-hmm.
It'll come a little bit blotchy,
Mm-hmm.
mottled, and it doesn't necessarily reflect on the flavor, but the color breaks down a little bit.
Yeah.
But that being said, the better the cheese was made in the vat,
Better
and
hope.
the proper texture and the right amount of moisture and just how you handled it had a lot to do with that. But
What was the history of it? Why?
well,
Does it come from the 1800s? Did they color their cheese?
I couldn't
their
say
cheese
for
in?
sure, but it's just eye appeal.
Yeah.
And you would prefer, I'm sure, colored butter. If somebody put white butter on the table,
As
you would
cream.
use.
Yeah. But I'm
It's
a
just
big,
eye appeal is all.
yeah,
it is.
yeah. Well, I'm a big. I always.
And
my
the color
ex-girl-
goes way back. It's the color is derived from the seed of the annatto plant, so it is
What plant?
annatto.
Annatto.
Annatto cheese coloring and butter coloring.
And where? And that's not
South
a
America.
herb. South America.
And
that
it-
goes way back. You
yeah.
say like early 1900s,
Oh, yeah.
something like that.
And it's a vegetable base.
A vegetable, and it's still used.
Yep.
And so they've been using that for 70 or 80 years.
Oh, a long time.
A long time.
Yeah, probably 100 years. Or more.
100 years, really. Now, what is your for your aged cheese? What is your balance of white cheese and orange, yellow, golden? What is
in this area? I think it varies in different areas.
of
and just like
what you would produce? Right.
Jensen's and Simcoe, they sell mostly colored aged
Colored
because
aged.
that's what they've
Right.
made available to
Available
their customer
Customers
base.
and their customers are
That's
used
what they
to
look
that.
for.
Right.
They're used to that.
Right.
Here, it's the exact opposite. We probably sell 90% in the age category is white.
And I'm one of your local consumers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So-
So I'm part of that.
But you know,
Is
one
curd is white as well, but
we don't make white curd
yes. Now is that different?
by choice.
It's just by choice, and it's just using a dye that changes the color of
And
it.
it's,
Yes. I get.
the reason that we choose not to go that route, and poutine came along.
Oh yeah. Ah
And they
yes.
they seem to want white
yes.
for that, and
Right.
there's no difference in the
Right.
product. It's just
Right.
what they started with.
Right.
So the reason we didn't curd is basically our lifeline.
Yes.
Without our curd sales, we probably
Yeah.
wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
Because there's no middlemen. You're making
Right.
the profit at the door.
Yeah.
So we make cheese every Sunday, one vat just for curd.
Just for curd.
Yeah, and we sell the whole vat on Sunday. So we have a minimum 1,000 people go through here on Sunday. And the curd is
mainly
just
main
curd.
draw.
That's
Right,
for curd.
right.
And if it wasn't,
And they like it fresh, and they know
it's
to
gotta
come.
be fresh.
And they
Gotta
know,
have the squeak.
Gotta have the squeak. Gotta come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you say, that is important part of your business. Do you also across Canada? Let's say, do you have connections across Canada, or is because you primarily, besides cheddar, you do what other cheeses as well?
Well, the curd, the cheese, Colby.
You do Colby,
mozzarella,
Right.
and some forms of brick.
and some forms of bread.
And the other stuff we just buy it in.
Right.
The imports.
Yeah, because to have it available. So, do you have contacts? Are there any cheesemakers out west? I know in Quebec or New Brunswick there are. Or are you primarily connected provincially?
We know of, like I say, it's a close knit community,
Yes.
and the cheesemakers that are out west in Abbotsford, they're from this area.
Oh, they are
So we know them from a personal contact, but
from the Ontario area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is Ontario sort of a base of sort of the home of
Yeah.
cheddar cheese? I know the loyalists.